We know we have to support each other. And we know these are very difficult times for everyone, for women as well as men, but women around the world are facing extraordinary times. We're going to hear a lot about Gaza today. We're going to hear a lot about Israel today. We're going to hear a lot about Ukraine today. We're going to hear Sudan. These are places where women are facing things none of us want to face. Am I right? Who wants to have to protect their families and themselves from war? Who wants to go to bed at night not knowing if a bomb is going to fall on your house or your next door neighbor's house? Yesterday, we were privileged to have the foreign minister of Lithuania with us for a breakfast. And imagine if the house next door to you is on fire and people are pillaging that house and you're right next door. That's how Lithuania is. Their capital, Vilnius, is the closest to what's going on right now in Ukraine. And they know they could be next. And he was here to ask the people of this great nation of all these multi-cultures and power to please stand with the Ukrainians, but also stand with the Lithuanians who are worried that they could be next. So with that, we are ready to get everybody settled and engaged in what we hope will be a fabulous program. Just so you know, the World Affairs Council of Harrisburg is part of a national network known as the World Affairs Councils of America. I sit on the board of the National Council. And these are there are 99 councils throughout the country dedicated to doing what we're doing right here. Bringing people together, engaging them, and teaching them about the world, helping them feel a part of the world. So today, we're going to do part 2 of the issue that we wanted to focus on this month in Women's History Month, and that is women's health, right? The state of women's health. We did an international state of women's health, March 8th with Highmark there, and we heard from some wonderful actually public health specialists, doctors and all, who told us about things like period poverty, right? Did you know there was such a thing? There is, and it's right here. So we have to do all we can to support. We know that there's a high maternal mortality, right? In the United States, right here. And guess who's top of the list? Black women. Black women, right? So we're going to hopefully get into some of that because we have an expert panel here, but you know, women's health is not just about the body. It's about the mind, it's about the spirit, it's about the knowledge, it's about a lot of stuff, right? It's about how you take care of yourself, right? So we're going to get into that. Do you feel welcome? Do you feel comfortable? You're a part of this. So let's get started. We have a panel of experts here, and I'm going to give you a look. These ladies, I could be here all day telling you about it. And so I'm only going to give you a snippet, but understand, these are world-class people here. And so we're going to actually ask Dr. Chavone Momon-Nelson, who is certified in obstetrics and gynecology by the American Osteopathic Board of Obstetrics and Gynecology. She's probably just going to start us off with that overview of the state of women's health. She practices at UPMC Obstetrics and Gynecology Specialist and is affiliated with UPMC Community Osteopathic, UPMC Harrisburg, UPMC Carlisle, and UPMC West Shore. She completed a residency at Cooper University Hospital and medical school at Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. She knows what she's talking about when she talks to us today. We also will have Phyllis Hicks, who has got a place in everybody's heart who knows her. She has a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Benabess University. And by the way, my niece just got matched with them. Yes, so she's going there for I guess, residency. Yeah. Yep, and she works, but Phyllis works intermittently on a graduate degree in nursing education. She has more than 40 years of experience in medical surgery, operating room, critical care, and community health nursing. She's taught clinical and classroom nursing and allied health students and is a contributor and co-author of nursing study guides and skill manuals. And Phyllis is a downright activist, right, for health and she just is, and she will not be silenced. If she's anywhere and she's got something to say, she's going to say it. Bravo's organization-wide enterprise initiatives focused on development of organizations, professional, management, and leadership resources. Gloria is the executive director of the Latino Hispanic American Community Center. Gloria, and she's taken that center from basically being a group of people who wish they could do something to like 100% increase in its budget. It's a powerhouse in our region now, thanks to Gloria's leadership, right? And a lady who, honestly, I'm just getting to know, but who is truly what we call phenomenal, and that is Dr. Najiba Benabess. She is Dean of the School of Business at Elizabethtown College, where I sit on the board. She holds a PhD in economics from the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, along with a master's degree in economics from West Illinois University. She is recognized for her dedication to personal and professional development. She completed a prestigious Future Leaders course through Harvard Business School in Executive Education in October 2020. She has previously held the position of Dean of the Tabor School of Business and in Central Illinois, and she has served as Director of the School of Business and Management at Norwich University in Central Vermont. She is also got a heart for service. She has like this fire to want to help, to reach out to our community, and she shared with me as we were starting, she says, this is the one place where I feel a heart. She's from Morocco. She says, where I can't find this kind of international, right, group of women who are also accepting of each other. So look, I've given them, I haven't given them their due. I've given you a little snippet of their due, right? So we're going to ask now Dr. Nelson, am I right? Dr. Nelson, to start us off. And you can do it, there's a microphone there, or you can come here, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Turn it on. And start us with our overview. Then I'm just going to let the program flow. We're going to go to Phyllis, we're going to go to Gloria, and then we're going to go to Dr. Najiba. She just says, call her Najiba. Okay, there you go. Take it away.
Good morning, everybody. I'm very appreciative to ask to participate in this event this morning. And it looks like I'm on a panel with some really amazing women, so I'm not going to hog the mic because I can do that and talk all day about women's health and women's mental health in the United States and across the world. Being an obstetrician and gynecologist, of course, this is a passion of mine. It's something that I understand very well. And it's something that I talk about every day because I care for women all day. In the United States, in the last several years, there have been a lot of changes that have specifically impacted women. Women about how we choose and what we don't choose and what we have the right to choose and what we don't have the right to choose with regards to our own health. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people who are making decisions about what we can do and what we cannot do who are not really knowledgeable. I always joke and say, I spent my entire life trying to be a physician. From the time I was in elementary school, I said I wanted to be a doctor. That's what it said when I graduated from 6th grade. It says, what do you want to be in the future? I want to be a doctor. In high school, in my yearbook, it says, I want to be a doctor. I think I said I want to be a pediatrician, but I realized that was not for me. And the letter that was sent to me when I accepted to go to college says, Dear future Dr. Momon. So then after that, I went to college for 4 years. Right after that, I did a combined degree and got a medical degree and got an MBA. Did an internship for a year, did 4 years of residency. I'm not even going to add on all the multiple different tests that I've taken, including 2 board exams, including an oral where I sat across the table from 2 people to tell me whether I was good enough or not good enough. And then all the multiple in-service exams that I take every year, every 2 years, and so forth, to say that I'm competent to do what I do. But if you have a large platform and you have access to a smartphone and social media, you can say that you know more than me. And I think I'm pretty smart. I know what I'm talking about when I care for women. Unfortunately, in this world, women are, the care that happens for women is really subpar. It's very challenging. As Ms. Joyce even mentioned, when we talk about maternal morbidity and mortality across the world, women are still dying when they have children. I think a lot of people think that having a child is so benign, that you just get pregnant, you carry a child till when the child says it's ready to be born, and then you have pain or your water breaks or whatever, and then you go to the hospital, and then you push this baby out, and the baby goes skin to skin, and the baby nurses, and then after a couple of days or so, and you go home and you start this wonderful journey of being a parent. It's not happening like that. Women of color die from maternal morbidity and mortality 3 to 4 times that of white women. And unfortunately, that happens more in the United States than any other country. So there's so many things around the state of women's health, including women's mental health. Unfortunately, but I think we are moving to a place where talking about mental health is not like faux pas, and it's not hush-hush, and it's not behind the corner, or you can't say anything about it or whatever. But still, there are women who struggle with mental health because as women, we often, as I say, we put on the mask to take care of everybody else. You know, there's days when I put on the mask and I put my makeup on and I put my, my eyebrows on, because I always joke and say, once I put my eyebrows on, I'm Dr. Nelson. And so I put my eyebrows on and I head into the office. And I take care of all these patients and I make sure my office staff is good. And I do surgery and I make sure everybody in the OR is good. Everybody's having a great time, and then I come home and I make sure my children are good, and I make sure my husband that he's okay. But I have nothing left in the tank for me. And that was a day when I really needed something for me. But I put my mask on and I took care of everybody else. Because that's what we do as women. I'm sure everybody can identify with that in a way. But it's really difficult for women to be open and speak about that. Again, I'm very happy that here in March of 2024, we have this platform, we have this space, we have this safe space to talk about some things that really impact women. I'm eager for what the conversation this afternoon will bring about, and I'm even more excited about the opportunities that today brings about in the future.
Well, first of all, thank you for being here. My name is Phyllis Hicks. I'm the Executive Director of the Kidney Foundation of Central Pennsylvania. But that's just one of the hats that I wear. And I want to thank Dr. Nelson because she just set it up so beautifully for me to talk about women and how women are affected not just by their personal health, but by the health of their families, the health of their spouses, their significant others. And we're caregivers. We tend to be nurturers and sustainers. And as such, we oftentimes, as Dr. Nelson mentioned, find that we will put on our mask and take care of everybody else, and then we may not have a lot left for ourselves. And supporting people who are living with chronic kidney disease in Central Pennsylvania, we're not kidneys, we're not livers, we're not hearts, we're not uterus or prostates or lungs or brains. We're whole beings. And as such, we often live with chronic illness and we push ourselves to the limit. We see women, and men too, but women a lot, who have been so busy taking care of themselves that they weren't monitoring their high blood pressure. They weren't taking care of their diabetes. They weren't following up with their lupus and seeing their caregiver the way they should. And oftentimes when we see women who are disproportionately represented in kidney care, as in so many other chronic diseases. It's partly because they've been so busy taking care of other people that need to be taken care of, that oftentimes they're cooking, they're cleaning. My mother would be over 100 if she were alive today, but she was the CEO of our house, and had she been born in another era, I grew up in the segregated South, had she been born in another era, she would be a CEO of some major company. I can promise you that. She was a mover and a shaker. One of the things she always taught all of us, not just me, my sisters, and my brothers, was the importance of taking care of yourself. And it was not a popular view in the 50s and 60s for women to say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a CEO, I want to be on the board of a university. And we are all represented here today. We have so many, if we went around the room and people talked about who you are and what you do, you'd be amazed at the quiet heroes that are seated right here, who every day are not just taking care of themselves, showing up and being beautiful, but taking care of a community. And as Dr. Davis pointed out, we're not just a local community, we're not just a regional community, we just don't live in the state of Pennsylvania. We live in the United States of America, but we are part of a worldview. And it's so wonderful and amazing to see so many cultures, languages, ideologies, histories represented here today. So all I want to say is thank you, all of you, for all that you do to help take care of women and families, and actually the whole community, the world. Make certain that you're taking care of yourself, because one of the other things Dr. Nelson mentioned was mental health, and we find that that is a huge deficit, because first of all, we're so busy, we don't realize, and then we stop and realize we're not sure we want to talk about it, because we have things to do, and people depend on us, and we don't want to be weak. And when we compare ourselves to Lithuania and Ukraine and Israel and Palestine and so many other places in the world, we think, geez Louise, we really do have first world problems. But we have to take care of ourselves, because eventually we just run out of energy and we have to recharge the batteries somehow. So I want to invite all of you sitting here today to personally commit to recharging the batteries of your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, even the lady at the checkout counter at the grocery store, the people that you meet on the street. You never know how sometimes a kind word, just being gracious, makes a difference. And let's be polite. When we hear people speaking other languages in the grocery store that we don't understand, let that be an interesting point for us to learn from that. I mean, I hear people that are offended by that. They're speaking another language. Well, isn't it wonderful that somebody else knows another language? When I go to other countries, I've been in several countries, almost everybody speaks English. They can speak English. I can't speak another language. I'm embarrassed to say. So I think it's exciting and amazing and wonderful that we have the opportunity to share that. So let's learn from each other. Let's be gentle with each other. And I'll just share one of my favorite quotes from actually a philosopher from, I think, the 16th century. And that is, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And whether you are the CEO in your home and community or of a Fortune 500 company, knowledge is power. And the important part about that is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that was John Maxwell. Thank you.
I said, I think you might be able to find someone else in the medical field that is probably a little bit more educated and more on the subject of breast cancer. So I said, I can do it. Let's pass it. Try to get somebody in the medical arena. So I thought, phew. Then I was at the TWE, the Women of Excellence event the other day, and I saw my friend Joyce, and she said, you know that lady that was going to speak on breast cancer? She canceled. And I said, oh, okay. And so she texted me the next day, and she said, will you do it? I said, absolutely. Yes, I will do it. And I think that the reason I changed my mind around that is that I think all of you, everyone, all of you in here are co-survivors in some way. When it comes to breast cancer, it touches all of our lives. It touches everyone. No one is more of an expert than many of us in here who have either gone through breast cancer or have helped someone who is going through breast cancer. And that could be anyone in your family. And so you could be up here talking about your story and your journey and what you did to help take care, and that seems to be a theme today, taking care of other people who have breast cancer or who have gone through it. So that was my inspiration for me, is that, and I just want to let you know that any of you will be up here doing the same as I'm doing. It's a matter of perspective. It's a matter of your point of view. It's a matter of what experience you've gone through. What is a co-survivor? A co-survivor is when someone that you love, a sister, a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, or someone is going through breast cancer. And you're there, you're holding their hand, you're hugging them, you cry with them, you listen to them, you send them a card, a note, you send them flowers, something to encourage them and to show empathy towards them. Maybe you took them to the doctors and helped them to get their treatments there. You took them meals, maybe you cooked for them. And yes, you prayed with them, and you prayed for them, and you prayed for their families. So right now, I just want you to think about what is a co-survivor. And if you could just take a brief moment at your tables and maybe just discuss at your table for a moment someone that touched you in this way, whether it was your sister, and just say, you don't have to say names, your sister, your grandmother, a dear friend that you helped through. So take a moment at your tables and jot those down, whether they were grandmother or sister and how old they were. If you could do that for a moment, and someone could just kind of keep track of that at your table.
Since I was a little girl, since I was like a little girl.
Okay, let's hear from anyone at your table. Like, how many people at your table? How many people at your table do you know that you were a co-survivor to? Anyone?
So I was co-survivor to my mother, who lived to be 100.
Yes.
She was diagnosed when she was in her early 90s, and she had triple negative breast cancer, which is one of the cancers that takes you out usually within the first 5 years. But she made it to 100, and she ended up with 2 different types of cancer in 2 different breasts, and had lumpectomy, and then we decided no chemo, no radiation, and then one time she did have to have lymph nodes taken out. But other than that, she lived a full, good life.
Yes, she did.
But you know how before part of that story. You told me she had an operation without anesthesia because she was so old. Can you imagine? I mean, how old was she at that point?
At that point, she was probably 96, and
then
she was afraid. She was afraid of anesthesia, and she said, "I don't want to get an operation." And so we got a second opinion, went out of state, got a different operation for a doctor who said, "I'll do it," and then she said, "Don't do any more mammograms if you're not going to do anything about it, because that will keep you upset." And so she stopped, and she lived a good long life.
And people are living today from you.
I had breast cancer in 2017, and I'm a survivor. And I just am so thankful, and I have to say that the good Lord helped me through it all. And it was kind of tough going through. I had a sister that also had it, and she died, unfortunately. But it seems like I have 5 sisters, and already 3 of us have gone through it. And so my 2 younger sisters, we're just praying that they don't have to go through it. But things have changed so much now, and everything seems to be on the positive side.
Many of the answers, especially if you catch it early. Anyone else want to share? If not, I'll take it back to Gloria, and I'll just tell you, I'm a double survivor. I got diagnosed, and I remember praying to God if I could just live to let my little son be a man. And then I got it the second time, 10 years later, and I had to have a mastectomy. But guess what? I'm fine.
You have a fine young man.
You do. Thank you for sharing that, Joyce, and thank you to all of you who shared it. I just did that exercise to let you know that breast cancer touches all of us in some way. Breast cancer is a battle. It is a battle, and we need to put on our armor and help people around us that are suffering from the same or going through the same. Let me tell you what first came to my mind in doing that exercise is my mother. My mother was 54 years old when she died of breast cancer. My inspiration for being here also is that I too am a co-survivor in that my mother died of breast cancer at 54 years of age. Also, my sister-in-law Jan, 35 years old, died of breast cancer. My Aunt Lola went through breast cancer. She had a strong faith, and she was determined that she did not have breast cancer, even though she had gone to getting her mammograms and all of that. And she was a fighter. She lived to be 90, and she was just very, very spiritual. And I think that's what brought her through and helped her live to the age of 90, even after her double mastectomy in her 60s. So there is hope, and you've heard the stories here. You've heard Joyce's story, which I asked her to share as well. But like I said, breast cancer is a battle that deeply affects each of us. It affects our communities. Breast cancer is the second most common cancer among women in the United States. And when it comes to Latinas, it's the leading cause of death, cancer death, for Latinas. For black women are 40% more likely to die from this disease compared to white women. This reflects systemic and structural challenges that we need to address collectively. Through education, advocacy, like Joyce is doing here today, and support, we can each make a difference in the lives of other women affected by cancer. It's time to overcome these inequalities and work together towards a future where all women have equal access to breast cancer prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. And thank you to all of you for doing your part. And take care of yourself. We talk about being a co-survivor and taking care of others, but it's very important that we take care of ourselves as well.
Amen.
Thank you.
Is that on?
Good morning. Can you all hear me? Wonderful. It's a great honor to be sitting, by the way, in this table. I feel so privileged and honored to be here. And thank you all so much for being here. I'm coming from a different part of perspective. I'm an educator. I have been in education my entire career. And yes, when I was a little girl, all what I wanted to do is be a teacher. That's all I wanted to do. I love teaching. I love sharing knowledge. And that's what I want to talk with you today. All these perspectives about women's well-being and its importance, it starts with education in my perspective. In order for us to change policies, in order for us to change the health issues that's related to women, to prioritize some of these things, you have to put educated women on a table. So everything starts with education. I'm sure you're all familiar with the term or with the phrase, when you educate a woman, you educate a village. There are a lot of statistics, and I have them on my notes, I will share them later, that speaks about, by the way, I just want to move a little bit. When I talk about education, I don't necessarily talk about having a degree. Education can provide you with the confidence, with the knowledge, right? We talked about the knowledge and how knowledge is powerful. Just having women who are able to make informed decisions, to know what's good for them and what's not. Whether they should get married at age 16 or not. Whether they should have kids. How many kids they should have. You know, what kind of birth they need to have. There are many parts in the world where young girls, who all these decisions gets made by somebody else about them. You know, someone else will tell them when to get married. Someone else will tell them when to have the first child, and second, and the third, and the fourth. They have no decision about, what kind of, giving birth. It's like they're not even part of the decision making. But this is why, in my opinion, educating women is so crucial if you want to change this cycle. It starts always with education. And I'll stop here for now.
So we have heard a good overview of some of the issues that women are facing with health and otherwise. And, I want to just simply say to you, too, that we know that in our country, right, women at least have the ability to get the care they need. They at least can reach out to organizations like ours. If you need resources, if you need help, if you need support, this is what World Breast Council come to us, okay? You don't have to say there's nobody there, there's somebody here. Same for the Civic Club. The Civic Club is a group of women who are managing this. We need you to be a part of it. We need your brains. And don't devalue yourselves, right? You're smart. You are capable. you can bring the skills you have to our community and to help other women. But you've heard some of the issues that have been brought up here, and I'm going to open this up to you right now so that you have these women. You can ask anything you want. You can share anything you want. And I was actually sharing with Gloria that the woman who was supposed to be here to talk about breast cancer, Alice, when the night before I was headed to Philadelphia from a mastectomy, I didn't invite her to my house. She came to my house. She and her husband came to my house, knocked on my door, and they said, I'm coming in to pray with you. And I said, what? Yes. They sat down at the table and they prayed over it. I can tell you to this day, I remember that. And I remember that I felt like I was equipped to deal with whatever I needed to on that operating table or afterwards. That's what they're talking about. All of us. And you might say, oh, don't go to Joyce Davis. She's such a powerful woman. No, Joyce needed prayer. We all need support, right? And sometimes you just have to show up whether they like it or not. I remember there was a woman called Miss Olamay in New Orleans. She was in there, she would simply come to your house. She knew you were sick, she was going to be there whether you liked it or not. Right? So that's the spirit that we want to bring to our community. You've got support. And I want to also acknowledge, I don't know where the Ukrainian women is. Please stand up. I know you're going to be in the back. But we want you to know that our hearts are with you. That we know you're suffering. Any Palestinian woman here? Any Arab woman?
She said.
Okay, we want them to know. Any Israeli or Jewish women. We also, all of these women caught in war, we want them to know that we're here, we're praying with them, we're supporting them. Okay? Any women in Sudan, I'm not, Hajir probably will be here later on. We know what's going on in Sudan. And Haiti, right? All of these places, and one of our board members is Berlin Laurent. She is also from Haiti as a refugee. So, all right, let's open it up. Any questions for our panelists? Anything that you would like to ask them, that you would like to share with any of these topics? The floor is yours. Yes, go ahead.
Do I need microphone?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know why the other one keeps going out.
Hello, my name is Gloria, and I have actually, when you start talking, I had a question for you about recharging the battery. And actually, when I listened to all of you, you had the same idea about how instead of crying, we can't do this anymore. So how about put red lipstick, do this, do that, be in a community, be outside. So my question to you, how do you recharge your battery? How do you, instead of putting mask, but actually trying to have that, your inner energy, happiness, and passion go through and make you happy, not just to be a mask?
Some tips for recharging your battery. Let's let the doctor
share.
That is a great question. And so I had to learn how to do that because I did not do that really well. So I do it a couple different ways. I like to travel. My husband likes to travel. My children now like to travel. And we typically do a lot of international travel versus just being in the United States. And that has, when I started letting him plan it, and then I just started going, it's been very helpful. Because I would find excuses of why I needed to work. And so he actually arranged with my office manager when I need to be off. And that has helped out a whole lot. Other things that I like to do, I also feel recharged by a lot of my patients. There are some patients, and it might sound like I'm exaggerating, but there are some patients that often try to suck every bit of me out of a little straw, like a stir straw. They just be sucking real hard to suck everything out of me. But then there's those patients that really give back to me and remind me of what I'm doing, what I'm doing. And I'll just share this little story that happened just recently. I had a patient that I saw a couple months ago who needed a surgical procedure. And I do not call anybody OLD. I say that we are mature because I'm not OLD. I'm just more mature. And so she needed surgery, but she told me that she couldn't have surgery until after her grandson's wedding because she did not want anything that didn't allow her to dance at her grandson's wedding. So we waited to do her surgery. So I did her surgery in early January, and her pathology came back not cancerous. However, she had something inside of her uterus that required her to have a hysterectomy. And so now I needed to operate on her. And so she comes back for her first post-op appointment, and she says to me, you know, Dr. Nelson, so she says, you know, I trust you. Whatever you say to do, I feel like that's the right thing to do. She says, I'm prayed about it. I'm prayed over you. And she says, and one of the things, my husband doesn't do a lot of talking, but I was telling my granddaughter about you, and he interrupted me just to talk about you. And he talked about how much he liked you, and how after my surgery, you came out to the waiting room and you sat down with him and you told him about the surgery and you held hands and whatever. And she said, and I don't know what you did to my husband, but my husband loved you. And so then I see her for an appointment last week for the surgery that I actually did yesterday evening. And so, again, she's like, you know, whatever you say and blah, 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 and this is the right thing to do. I know it's the right thing to do, and so forth. And so, after surgery, as something that I've always done since I was a resident, I always go out to speak to the support person. If they're not in the hospital, I just call them. But if I know that they're in a hospital, I look for them because I want to see them. Because that's what I want for me. That's what I want for my family. Come see me. Okay? And that power and that touch and that being present in that moment is very important. And so I go out and see him to go tell him, surgery's done, everything looked good, your wife is good, she's in recovery. This man, I know he's like 85 years old, he hugged me so tight and rocked me. Like, and you know, if you get that rocking hug, that's a good hug. He rocked me out of my shoes 2 times, okay? But I'm gonna tell you, he recharged me enough for like the next couple months.
I learned how to recharge at kind of an early age. As I said, I mentioned I grew up in the segregated South at a time when there were white and colored water fountains in the southern United States. I can show you trees that my relatives were hung from in my town. And I watched my mother navigate situations that would have been humiliating with grace and with faith. And so I learned how to recharge from watching her, how she would, my mother was a nurse. She was an LPN back in the days when we were there. She had a 2-year teaching degree. She was an educator, as was my aunt, who was the acting president of Toulouse University when she died. But I watched how my mother navigated this, and she couldn't get a job as a nurse or a teacher in those days. So my mother was a domestic. But who do you think wanted my mother to take care of their kids? The doctors, the lawyers, the people of position in town. And my mother tells a story of going out, and at the middle of speaking to this lady, the lady says, "You're interviewing me, aren't you, Georgie?" And my mother said, "Yes, ma'am, I am." Because she knew the importance of surrounding herself with people who were positive, people who would give back to her, not just pay her and think, okay, go about your business, don't touch my food, don't touch my clothes, just clean and leave. My mother would not work for just anybody. And she taught me the value of carrying yourself with grace and with faith. And that's how I recharge myself, coming to events like this, seeing women like yourselves who continue to persevere in difficult circumstances, knowing that you're praying for your families back home, knowing that you're worried about their physical health. Are they going to be alive? What are you going to talk to them on the phone? Are they going to have enough to eat? What is the water like? What is the air quality like? How do you recharge? You know, how do you recharge? Because the way I do it is I wake up with an attitude of gratitude. I talk to my sustainer, redeemer, creator on a regular basis. I have many, many friends. Many of them are sitting here in this room, and some will be out there getting ready to come in and model. But I learned from watching my mother that you can't control circumstances. You can't control people. You can't control attitudes. But you can decide what you're going to allow to come into your space. And everything that is out there on the television, on the news, in the grocery store does not need to come into your space. And so you take care of yourselves and you recharge by reaching out to your friends, your family. Start in the morning with this attitude of gratitude. Be grateful. God woke me up this morning. I woke up on the green side. My bed wasn't my cooling board, as old people used to say. So I recharge by being grateful, by praying for people who I know are struggling and have far less than I do. And I have a lot more than I ever have in my whole life. Nobody could have told me when I wanted to grow up and be a nurse in a little segregated Tennessee town that I was going to grow up and be sitting at a panel talking to fabulous people representing countries all over the world today. Amazing. So I recharge by just being grateful, by being faithful, by praying. I don't know what people call prayer. I don't know who you pray to, what you believe in, meditation, yoga, whatever it is that you do is going to help you continue. That's what I would encourage you. That's how we recharge. And we recharge by sharing with friends and family, people that we trust. You have to have somebody that you trust. Because, girl, when you talk about your husband, I'm like, girl, I've been married 40-something years, and I can tell you, I let him start planning it because that was the only way he was going to go. So we learn. But you know how we recharge? Gratitude, faith, and the company of other people who are going to bring positive information and energy into your space. Don't waste time with anything and anybody else.
Thank you for that question, Lana. Got me thinking. I wish that recharging was as easy as plugging in a cell phone overnight. And I have to say that I have to work at that. I have difficulty recharging. And so I think it's because when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a social worker. And I always wanted to help people. I started when I was 8 years old. I used to go with the church, and I would go into the neighborhood of Allison Hill, where I'm working today, and we would pick up all the little children. They'd be waiting for us on the corner, and I would teach catechism classes. And myself, being 10 years old, they would give me a book, and I'd read through with them and help them recharge, and I would help the children, recharge. I'm always helping people recharge, and that's what I do. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but questions like that I find very motivating for me, that I still have to learn how to do that. We grew up, we were poor, we grew up in that community, and for me, I wanted to make a difference as I got older, so I went through my career in government. I became a senior consultant, worked for several governors, and decided that it was time to move on. And when I moved on, I got a phone call, and that phone call said, hey, they're starting a new Latino center for Allison Hill, and I think you should be on that board. Well, my father was the founder of the first Latino center in 1973, and that center closed in 2006. So what happened to all the people that were there that needed help? Nothing. So the United Way came in, we did a study, and found that we needed another Latino center because there was such a huge gap in services. People who didn't speak English, people who just didn't know how to confirm a doctor's appointment, how to read their mail, a lot of different things. I could go on forever. And so I joined that. Committee, and we started the Latino Center. For me, that's how I recharged. I recharged because now, instead of using my energy to help everybody else in government, now I was going to be helping to recharge people in the community where I grew up. And that's where I've been, and I stayed there. And for me, recharging, and I don't know if it's good or bad, is when I know that I'm making a difference. When I know that I'm walking the talk. When I know that all of the nuggets that I got in government and that I got throughout my whole career, I am now using to help my own community that I was born and raised in. My mother did not go to the doctor or to the hospital when she came here from Puerto Rico. She didn't speak English. She was afraid. I was born in the house. And the only person that came, the only doctor that my father could find was a black doctor who came and delivered me. And so I say this because when I'm at the Latino Center as the executive director, everything I do is based on me having walked their shoes. And so I work with the seniors. I started a program, again, using all those nuggets because I was a training consultant and developer and this and that and the other thing. And I said, Lord, I know you want me to do something with all of this when I leave government. And so that's what I do. And when we talk about breast cancer, for me, since my mother died of breast cancer, and I know there's a high incidence of breast cancer in the Latino community, I call Penn State, and Penn State comes into our center, and they play bingo with our seniors, and they learn about breast cancer, and they play bingo, and what do you have? What is a mammogram? And they look for the answer, and then they play bingo. And that's how they learn. They learn through fun. I also was a youth in that community, and no one ever came to me at the high school and talked to me about Pell Grants or how I could get money to go on to college. It was like the cream of the crop, the people the smartest, the brightest, that got all the attention and got the scholarships. And so I decided that when I got to this Latino Center, I was going to start a program for youth. These things recharge me. And so now I started a leadership program for youth that they don't have to struggle like I did and look for mentors in government. All of my mentors came from government. My first day on the job, I showed up in a miniskirt. I showed up in a miniskirt, my makeup, my hair up in a bun, and this and that. And there were 2 women in the affirmative action office. And both of them took me under the wing. They said, come on, we're going shopping. and they took me under the wing and they molded me. Because if it wasn't for them helping me, I wouldn't be here where I am today. So how do I recharge? I recharge from other people. My recharge is from making a difference. And when I have the seniors and the community come to me and give me a hug and say, thank you so much. And when I have a father stop me in the parking lot and he says to me, please help my high school student. Please put them in your program. And I do, and I put them in, then he comes and he thanks me. I recruit my youth, my students. I have 2 working for me right now. I'm mentoring those 2, and I just had another woman ask me to mentor her. I've helped 300 women graduate from a leadership development program. Helping them gives me energy. And so I still need to work on recharging myself.
Work on resting.
I just get my energy externally. That's
Thank
how I
you,
enjoy
Gloria.
it.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Can I just shortly comment on it? I just would like to shortly comment on it.
This should stay on, not just press that button.
Okay. I just want to shortly comment on it. Those beautiful ladies, they tell great stories, but Gloria, I know personally myself. War in Ukraine started in 2014, but the full-scale war started on February 24th of 2022. And I was in, like everybody, in shock. I have a family in Ukraine. But this lady just walk the walk, speak the truth, right? So this lady called me and she's like, what are you doing? Crying? And I'm like, wow. She's like, we're going to get together. We're going to organize Latino Hispanic community people. We're going to have people coming to you. Please bring some Ukrainian folks you know. We're going to have flags. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Don't sit. Don't cry. Don't be like giving up on things. And she organized amazing march outside. People were hanging on the streets with horns on the cars at her center, and it was amazing. It was march for. It's a clue, right? Yeah. Okay, it's fine. It was March 4th of 2022. And she invited media, she invited media, TV stations, and it received such a great support for Ukrainian community, and actually, quite frankly, for all people who would like to live, to have a life full of, just a simple things, to have family, to have kids, and just to be who they are. So this lady is amazing. I'm just like, and so are you.
It's so hard to follow all your answers. You're amazing. Okay, so I want to try to echo everything that my colleagues are saying. As I was saying earlier, that at a very young age, I wanted to teach. I wanted to be a teacher. And I think if you asked me years ago if I know what dean means, I would not even know what that is. In fact, it was not even in my vocabulary. But here I am, a dean of School of Business at a Elizabethtown College. How do I recharge? Moving from a teacher to an administrator, you get caught up with a lot of administration work and conflict and politics and paperwork and policies, and the list goes on forever. And sometimes, and more often, I forget why I was even in higher education in the first place. I forget why am I even in this field. I never thought I would be what I am. But when I meet with a student, when I go to that classroom, when I'm in events like these, actually, that's what really helps me recharge. That's what really reminds me of my passion for making a difference, for helping and empowering people. And I love to empower the youth because they look at you with the eye of, they don't know even what questions to ask. It's not about the answers. The knowledge is right here in their fingertip, but many of them don't even know what questions to ask. So they come to school to learn, to be critical thinkers, right? To question the answers. And I love spending time with them and giving them information and helping them, guide them to rethink what they see around them, to change the narrative that society is giving them. That really empowers me. And talking about events like this, I consider myself extrovert. I love to be with people. So if I'm not in college dealing with all the politics and all this stuff, I love to be involved in the community. I love to look for events where there are people who want to make a difference. If I know that there are people who are positive, because I like that point. It's not about just being in any event or being in any, around just people. You have to be with the right people that are gonna uplift you, people who will not judge you, people who will support you, right? And you do the same thing, right? It has to be mutually, beneficial. So that's what really recharges me. I go home not tired. I'm like having more energy. Like, what can I do? So thank you for including me.
But great question. We may have time for one more before I'm going to make you guys do something you're going to love, okay?
Hi everyone, my name is Sasha Anosova and I'm Ukrainian who has been in US for 2 years now. Anyway, I'm just amazed with the spirit of collaboration, spirit of leadership, spirit of womanhood and support that we have here. But I would like to come back to the quote of Mahatma Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world. If you want us to remember and do one actionable thing that we can do today, very simple, to help ourselves overcome those issues and help others. What do you want us to come out from this room with? One actionable thing. I know it's hard. There are so many, but something that we all can do, very simple. Thank you so much.
If you guys don't have an answer to that, I do. I'm gonna let you go first.
I actually am happy to have asked that question and make that statement. As you can see, I'm dressed in Nigerian clothing today, and I don't know, I've accepted Nigeria as my country of origin, decided that that's where I'm from, because my ancestors came over here 300-400 years ago. I really don't know. And I could know, but it doesn't matter. But I would say the one thing that I hope we will all do today, that I am determined to do, is to meet some people that I didn't know before, ask some questions about the clothing, greet me in your native tongue, share something with me about how I might be of help to you if you know somebody with chronic kidney disease or living with a chronic condition or struggling, because that's my area of expertise in healthcare. But I would say, I would encourage everybody here, each one reach one, and then we can all teach each other. So if I were going to say one thing, one actionable thing, talk to somebody that you've never seen before in your life today. Not somebody that you know, somebody that you came with, somebody that you recognize from another event. Walk up to somebody and talk to somebody that you have never met before, and strike up a conversation and find out how much you have in common, and share.
I thought that too was a very good question, and I'm just going to say that one actionable thing that I think that I would recommend everybody to do is to say yes to something that you would not necessarily say yes to. And a couple of weeks ago, somebody asked me if I was available to speak on this panel, and I looked at my schedule, and outside of being a physician, I am like a wife and a mother to two children. And this is dance competition season for my daughter. So she's down the street at the Scottish Rite today. And I had to see what time was she performing versus the time that I could be here, because I wanted to say yes. And today, I'm so glad I said yes.
Yeah, I pretty much have to echo what the other ladies said here. I think today, maybe step out of your comfort zone. Again, meet someone that you've never known before. Take down a phone number, a name of a person, and the most important thing is, make a connection with that person. And if you say you're going to do something, do it. If you say you're going to call them, if you say you're going to talk to them, if you think you can help them, I think the biggest thing is following through. We often go to these events and we say, oh yeah, we have to get together, oh we should talk, oh I'm going to call you. And I'd say my recommendation is just do it.
The one actionable item I would like to share or to suggest is to not stop learning. And today, with education that's accessible and affordable, I invite you to learn skills, even if you are no matter how the mastery level you are, there is never an end. As long as you're alive, you can learn new skills, you can polish your skills, you can try to be as relevant, because that's the only way, or one of the only ways, you can really empower yourself and empower your sisters, you empower your children, you empower your community and your neighborhood. So do not stop learning.
I'll try this one, and maybe I'll switch to this one. Listen, ladies, the World Affairs Council, as all World Affairs Council, is nonpartisan, right? Nonprofit. But you need to vote. You need to figure out a way, if you are eligible, that you get registered to vote. And if you are a citizen, registered to vote, and frankly, even if you're not, you need to talk to these Congress people and tell them what they ought to be doing. You need to talk to your legislators, your city council, your mayor. You need to let them hear your voice. You are why they are in office. You should not be afraid of them. Really. They are there to serve you. So my Ukrainian friends, if you're voting, you need to get on the phone and you need to email Perry, Representative Perry, Casey, Federman, all of you, and they, let me tell you, they have to listen. They have to listen, right? But if you do nothing, I mean, the one thing you could do, if you can be registered to vote, register, and then vote by mail or in person. And now it's so easy. I just get the mail, I hand it, and I'm finished. I can be traveling anywhere in the world, right? Please, the one thing you can do is register to vote and vote, and send an email or a letter to all as many of your legislators you can with what you want them to, not what Joyce wants, but what you want them to. So, okay. So that's the only way change is going to happen. So I think we're almost coming to the end. There's a couple of things I want to do. Thank the men who are here. Can we give an applause to them? Honestly. Because if you're here, you're supportive of women. Right? You're supportive of women and you want to make a statement, so thank you. And I tell everybody, I couldn't do half of what I do if I didn't have a supportive husband. If I didn't have my husband behind me fully, all my life almost, since I was 19 years old. That man has been saying, yeah, go ahead, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, right? And if I had to worry about the man at home, and he don't let me do this, or he don't let, I couldn't do half of it, right? So that's the other thing. The men who are supportive, we thank you. We thank you. The men behind your wives. So as we head into our luncheon period, and I also want to note that Francine Danya Henry is here. She is one of the honorees who will be actually put into our Women's History Garden. Tomorrow there'll be another celebration here from 3 to 5, and Katrina Baltimore, president of the Civic Club, is here as well. So tomorrow, if you're out 3 to 5, stand up, Francie. I don't know if anyone else is there. This is a lady who has dedicated her life to law enforcement, the military, and we will be honoring her service. Look, a beautiful, beautiful woman, right? But she is tough and powerful. So she will be here tomorrow, 3 to 5. That's the Women's History Garden that will be going on here. But I'm going to ask you guys to do something in this period as we lead up to our fashion show and our lunch. You know, the African American culture is really cares about music and gospel music. And if you want to know what charges me, and I wanted to really speak to you, there's a song that my grandmother taught me, This Little Light of Mine. So it's such an easy song. It's just, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little tiny light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Okay? So let's go. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All in my home, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, all in my home, I'm gonna let it shine. All in my home, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. So take that song with you. It's a blessing. Let your little light shine. We're about to see a bunch of, I'm looking out here, all the beautiful costumes. We're going to have a fashion show. We're going to have good food. And I want to spend this time, too, to thank. There's a guy named Chavone. He's executive director of the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission. He's made possible the food you're going to have here. Why this is free? Because we can't do it. Like, we can have all the mission you want, but you don't have the money, right? The food is free because the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission has paid for it. She's looking, she wants to hear some foreign languages. So she wants to hear a little bit. So everyone in your own language, say thank you to the Human Relations Commission. Okay, all right. I guess we heard that. So with that, we're going to again thank our panelists, and we've given them a few little